Okay, today we're doing a video for a quick overview on designing a single posterior restoration with Cerec. The reason we're doing the restoration is because the mesiolingual cusp of this tooth broke away. We're doing a quick review of our scans to make sure everything is acceptable. Our opposing, we need good occlusion. When we look at our preparation scan, we can already see it correlates with a scan we took before the preparation called biocopy, and our buccal bite was acceptable as well. When you advance to the model stage, the first thing that it asks you to do is set your model axis. There are two ways to go about this. A lot of times when doing a single restoration, you want to set the model axis so you can see a straight path of insertion to your preparation. If you have multiple preparations, or if the plane of occlusion is rather complicated, a lot of times you're just going to do your best to set the model axis with these different planes, following principles of the curve of Spee and curve of Wilson on the left. After you feel comfortable with your model axis being set, click OK. You'll see that you have green bars showing that all of these steps are in an acceptable state. You could go back and edit your model if you have a lot of excess. You could correlate your model if the buccal bite didn't automatically correlate. And you can adjust a single tooth path of insertion in just a second as well. The next section that was blank was the draw margin section. Here, the first thing I like to advise people to do is zoom in as far as possible to have that margin line be as skinny as possible. Obviously, the closer you can see, the less any flaw or error will impact your restoration. So here we're zoomed in as far as we can to have that line be very narrow. What we've done is quickly go around with the auto margin finder and complete our margin. Obviously, the auto margin finder does better in areas that have a good clean cavo surface and are super gingival. If we do a good job of packing cord or using a laser, more of your margin will be found with the auto finder and will be very clean and clear. If the auto finder doesn't work well, which a lot of times it doesn't, you can go back with this manual margin finder. The way to edit segments is to double click on a part of the margin that you do like and then do single clicks along an arc until you want to join back up with your existing margin by double clicking again. The more you do this, the quicker it will be to find the margin. You're going to also have to get used to rotating and moving your model as you work so that you can see it in different angles. As you get to the end here, while continuing to manipulate and look in different planes, you're going to want to take an overall step back and make sure there wasn't any area you missed that stepped off the margin. In preparation guidelines and in finding your margin, we encourage you to get that line to be as smooth as possible without any skips or spikes. When you're happy with your margin, let's click through the next sections. It's green already, so you don't have to adjust it, but for individual restorations, you can change your path of insertion. And then there's a final window there where you can evaluate your preparation. This is color-coded for the amount of clearance that you have. Once you're happy with that analysis and your margin, you click the arrows to go to the next stage and it's going to give you a proposal. If you don't like your proposal initially, like this one has some things that are quite a bit off, rather than taking a lot of time editing and stretching, we can go get a cleaner proposal by clicking on this positioning tool down below. This used to be called BioJaw, but now they refer to it as positioning. We want to make sure that we've unchecked this constrained box so it doesn't take our existing proposal and stretch and modify it. We want to get a fresh and clean proposal. But what we're going to do right now is change the size of the tooth with the scale function, change the positioning with this position and rotate function, and get the reference tooth it's giving us a proposal of in a little bit better of a position. You'll see that the root surface is quite a bit to the lingual, and that can have something to do with the proposal we got as well as our model axis. But rather than spend too much time trying to get to the bottom of why the proposal wasn't perfect, we can just give it a new reference. When you're done with that, at the bottom there we clicked on Edit Restoration. It takes us back to the edit screen and gives us a new proposal. Our contacts are better, the size and emergence of the tooth is better, but there still are a few things that we're going to want to go around and edit. If you click on the display tool to see the biocopy, you can see the tooth before we prepared away, and you can see this cusp that we're adding back if you change the opacity of your restoration. Sometimes it's nice to look at the tooth from before and see that our tooth measures up in similar size and shape and contour, And here we're seeing that our lingual cusps are a little bit high in their proposal, but the existing distal lingual cusp was also very high on the tooth that we prepared away. We'll take that into account in just a little bit here when we're looking at interferences and adjusting occlusion. Right now we've added back to some embrasures that are a little deficient and could cause food traps to try to have a more broad contact that flosses better without getting that finicky food stuck. When we're happy with our contacts, we now look at the occlusion. Here we're going to lower these lingual cusps so that we perhaps don't have a fracture again and they need to be more in line with the other teeth. We're going to display the opposing in just a minute and be able to see how things match up for occlusion. To adjust interproximal contacts, we look from underneath the model and we switch to the smooth tool. At the school, we like to leave these interproximal contacts, tooth to tooth, in the green range. You may have trouble seating this restoration, but we'd rather leave it a little bit heavy to adjust and get perfect than to have it be light and have to go back to the drawing board for design and manufacturing. A lot of times we trim away so we can see just the restoration. We make sure that transitions are smooth. We're happy with shape and size of the tooth, that we have appropriate thickness, and then we're ready to move on and mill this restoration. I'd like to do one final review before we go to the milling stage by turning on the upper jaw, seeing that things flow well in the arch, that this tooth matches and nothing is out of the ordinary. Then we click through to the mill portion, and that will be another video where we talk through how to mill and finish a restoration.